What's up, guys? So today we're back to talk about the review of Blade Runner 2049. Just a few days ago, we did the little recap or review of Blade Runner, the original back from 1982. And last night, I was able to go see Blade Runner 2049. So for starters, the movie is really good. I really enjoyed it. To kind of go into that, this is a movie if you love, like, or enjoyed Blade Runner the original, you will love, like, or enjoy this one. If you hated, disliked, or did not understand, did not appreciate whatever it is, the original Blade Runner, you're probably going to have the same feelings about this movie because for the most part, it's a very, very similar movie. There's a lot of the same kind of things. Like, just from a visual standpoint, this is almost like the same movie. Like, you wouldn't know that it's 30 years later, just with the exception of the CGI and things like that, obviously. But just like the look and the feel of it, it looks like Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. Denis Villeneuve, whatever his name is, however you pronounce it, did an amazing job just like capturing that. Like, it looks like it came out just a few years later versus 30 years later. Next, just as far as just like the sound and things like that, it feels like Blade Runner. Like, it's the same. Hans Zimmer did just an amazing job on the score. Like, and I'm not usually one to comment about scores just because I'm not super knowledgeable about all that stuff, but it's one that, like, you don't think about it because it's so good, and it's just like watching the original Blade Runner. I had watched a little bit prior to going and seeing 2049, and it's just like it's the same thing. Like, there's those same, like, those feels are the same, just like the visual and the atmosphere and things like that. So moving on. So basically, the plot of the movie is that we're following Kay, who is a Blade Runner. That's everyone knows that already. It's been revealed in the trailers and everything's like that. And he's out. At the beginning of the movie, he's on a hunt for a replicant. I'll just go that far. I'm trying to. It's really hard not to get into spoilers for this, but I'm gonna try really hard not to do spoilers. We'll try to do a spoiler review afterwards, but So anyway, he gets out, he gets his replicant and everything like that, and then he just kind of starts going down this wormhole. Like, they find these bones, and what are they? Who are they? What does that mean? And everything like that. And then he has to go do a lot of actual, like, legitimate detective work, which we didn't really see in the original Blade Runner. Deckard was a Blade Runner, a police officer, a detective. We didn't really see a lot of, like, going out and casing and things like that, versus in Blade Runner a lot of things just kind of happened towards Deckard. Things just kind of popped up. We had a little bit of him going in and being a detective and things like that, but not really long term. There wasn't a lot of that. Versus this movie, it's like majority of the movie is Ryan Gosling's Kay going out and being a detective, like having to go investigate, like track down leads, like put puzzle pieces together and things like that. So there's a lot of that. So that's really nice. And that's really all I can get into in terms of the story or the plot, because any more than that is getting into spoiler territory. We don't really want to go into that here. Going into the actors and the performances and stuff like that, Ryan Gosling is great, and that's high praise coming from me because I typically don't like Ryan Gosling just as an actor, or just as I've never really liked any of his work, but he's really good in this, and he had to be fair. He's 95% of the movie. Like, there's a lot of just following him and his day-to-day and his things like that. There's not a lot of, like, segues and other things like what's going on or cut-offs and looking back into things like that. It's Ryan Gosling's show for the most part, and he did a really good job. Like, I want to give him a lot of credit for that. That's really the only, like, named actor that, I mean, Harrison Ford is obviously in the movie, and Harrison Ford is, like, amazing. This is, like, grade A, top level. This is why Harrison Ford was as big as Harrison Ford was 20 years ago. Harrison Ford, like, this is what we remember Harrison Ford is. There's a scene in here where he doesn't say anything, and it's just what's on his face, what's in his eyes, and things like that. Like, that's some of the, like, the best acting I've seen in a really long time, especially coming from Harrison Ford. Like, this is definitely not a phone in Harrison Ford, and this is even better than, like, Force Awakens Harrison Ford, which didn't phone that in either, but he's got less to do in this than he did in Force Awakens. You have to remember this movie is like long, So Harrison Ford, to be fair, is not in it a whole bunch, but compared to a 3-hour movie, it's an ample time. Like if it was if it was an hour and a half movie, then his time frame would be very adequate. But compared to a 3-hour time frame movie, it's a much smaller role compared to like Ryan Gosling, obviously. But he does a really good job. Like, and it's great A Harrison Ford. Like, it's some of the best Harrison Ford that we've had in a really, really long time. Jared Leto is the other like big name guy. He's really weird, like really fucking weird, like, and he's kind of supposed to be, I guess. So Jared Leto's character is he basically is like a Steve Jobs, like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, like Nobel Peace Prize type person, all like jammed in together into one character, like. So basically, as the beginning of the story kind of tells us that there was this big famine and everything like that, like people were running out of food, and he created this agricultural system that basically saved humanity. And then he brought around the age of replicants, like he created new replicants and things like that, so we're able to go out and explore, and they are like pure slave labor. Go out and explore other countries and universes and things, or not countries, other worlds and universes and things like that, and so he has almost like a god complex to the point, the way he just like talks and movies really eccentric, and Jared Leto weird, and like not Joker weird, but just weird, and it's not bad by any means, it's just weird, and I don't really know how to take that. To be fair, he's not in the movie a whole lot either. Like, again, you have to remember just how long this movie is, so a short role in a 3-hour movie isn't the same as a short role in a hour and a half movie. Like, what is a short role here is a considerable role in a much shorter movie, so you have to kind of take that into perspective. But he's just weird, and it's not bad. I don't know if it's good, but it's not bad. As far as that's concerned, like for the rest of the movie, it's long. Like I said, it's 3 hours. I mean, I wish I could say it was like a seamless 3 hours. I feel like there was a little bit of pacing issues, probably about 2/3 of the way, and maybe in the last quarter as well, where there's like, it's a little long-handed and things like that. Maybe you could cut out a little bit, kind of get it a little bit more bigger, but that's not. But it's Blade Runner. I mean, that is, for those of you that know Blade Runner, that's Blade Runner. Blade Runner is long, dragged-out moments. We're watching a scene that should end here, but we're going to watch it another 15 or 20 seconds to see what else is happening, just to kind of get a feel of the world. So that's happening here. But Blade Runner is considerably shorter, so it wasn't as... You didn't feel it as much versus a 3-hour movie where you kind of feel it as a little bit much. So there's a little long in the tooth. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely have that knowledge or expectation going into it. This isn't going to be just like, oh, look at the action, stuff like that. That's not Blade Runner. Blade Runner is not about the action. Blade Runner is about the world. It's the atmosphere. It's the mystery. It's the noir. It's the, the look. Like, that's Blade Runner. And, I was in unfortunately, a relatively empty theater. It was kind of late, and this is a long movie, so that might have something to do with it. But there's a lot of, like, college students in the theater, and you could tell just by as they were coming in, the type of movie they were expecting versus the type of movie they got. And I don't feel like that they enjoyed the movie, but it's kind of unfair to judge it like that because you don't know what expectation people are going to have coming into this movie. Like, I enjoyed it. I love Blade Runner. Like, oh my God, do I love Blade Runner? But I knew what to expect from a Blade Runner movie. Versus someone who just has no idea what Blade Runner is. Oh, maybe, oh yeah, Blade Runner, that's that robot movie. It's really cool. And then they see the trailers and stuff like that. And then the trailers aren't like overdoing the action or anything like that by any means, but you'd imagine a movie in like 2017 is going to be like wham, 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 like fight scenes and things like that. And this is not that. This has its action moments, and its action moments are super well done, and they're very good, and they work really well towards the story and things like that. But this isn't the Bourne Identity, and I unfortunately feel like people, when they see like a Ryan Gosling type of character and things like that, that's kind of what they're expecting. But just have that expectation going in. That's not the movie. And to be fair, going into the last act of the movie, probably the last 45 minutes, maybe even the last hour, for me personally, things kind of fell apart. It at all make it any less of a great movie, but I feel like some of the character decisions, the character motives, kind of the like, things happening and things like that, there was a lot of like, oh yeah, by the way, they kind of mess with the Blade Runner mythology a little bit, and I'm not sure how I feel about that right now. Upon a second viewing and reviewing the original Blade Runner and maybe checking it from different angles, like the different versions of Blade Runner, to try to compare it to what this might more wants to. But the last act definitely was a little for me. Not bad, but just some things happen, and I'm kind of like, I'm not sure how I feel about that, like how that happened, why that happened. They're kind of setting things up, maybe not setting up things. We get definitely more questions than we necessarily get answers. They don't answer the one question that everybody really wants to know. They kind of touch on it, but they don't really answer it, which is, you know, what it is. That's Blade Runner. That's not really the point. But all in all, it's a really good movie. I definitely recommend it. I don't really get into the rating and stuff like it, ranking and things like that, but it's a good movie. It's a really, really good movie. If you like or enjoyed Blade Runner, you will like or enjoy 2049. Like, go see it. And that's really all I got to say, guys. So that's it. Let me know what you think about Blade Runner down below. Have you seen it? Will you see it? Do you want to see it? Try to avoid spoilers in these comments. We'll do another video where we do the spoiler talk and everything like that. So try to keep it nice for the people who are still interested in seeing the movie. But other than that, that's it, guys. And we will see y'all next time.